In this video, we're going to find the exact value for cosine at 255 degrees. So something we should make note of, cosine is the x value of the coordinate. So if I've got coordinates on the unit circle, cosine is the x and sine is the y. Unfortunately, 255 is not on my unit circle. So let's try and find two values that can either add or subtract to make 255. So for example, in order to make 255, I could do 210 plus 45 degrees. That makes 255. Well, let's verify. 210, yes, is on the unit circle. It's in quadrant 3. 45 degrees is also on the unit circle. It's in the first quadrant. But there are more than one way to get to 255. I could also use subtraction. For example, 300 minus 45 will also give me 255 degrees. So let's verify. 300, quadrant 4 of the unit circle. 45, quadrant 1 of the unit circle. As long as I'm using angles on the unit circle, I can find cosine of 255. So let's do that. And for this video, Miss Waters is purposely going to choose the subtraction. So we're going to do cosine of, and I'm choosing cosine because they gave me cosine, 300 minus 45. Now, in order to find this, I need to use the formula for angle difference. Difference because there's subtraction. Coming over to my notes page and scrolling up, and I'm looking specifically for my identities. I have subtraction, so I need to use the angle difference. I have cosine, so I'm going to use the second one. Notice it says cosine alpha minus beta. That just means first angle minus second angle. And knowing that, we can use that formula. Cosine alpha. That means cosine of the first angle. Then it has next to it, which means multiplication, cosine beta, which means cosine of the second angle I'm using. Now let's look at that formula. There's a big plus sign. And then it says sine alpha, which is sine of the first angle being 300, times, because they're next to each other, sine of beta, which is sine of the second angle, 45. Now that I have used the formula, I'm going to go straight to the unit circle and find the x coordinates and the y coordinates for each one of those angles. Scrolling down to my unit circle on my notes page, I am looking at specifically the 300s and the 45. So let's look at 300 degrees, and I want the x value. So 300 degrees, that's 1/2 for the x coordinates, times, now I'm going to look at 45 degrees, cosine is the x. That's a positive root 2 over 2. And my formula says plus sign. Then I have another one, sine 300. Let's look at 300 and get that y value, negative root 3 over 2. And then the last one, sine 45. Let's look at 45 degrees. And sine is the y coordinate, root 2 over 2. All right, now we need to simplify. When we simplify fractions, we multiply the numerators and then the denominators. 1 times root 2 is root 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus sign. Root 3 times root 2 is root 6. You multiply the inside numbers. Now, something to be aware of, a negative and a positive make a negative. And then their denominators, 2 and 2 is 4. I can combine these because they have a common denominator. When I combine them, I get root 2. Since root 6 is negative, we're going to go minus root 6. And they have the same denominator of 4. I cannot combine root 2 and root 6 because they do not have the same base. Yes, I can multiply two radicals, but I can't combine them if they're not having the same number inside. This is my final answer for cosine of 255.